Welcome back to the No Comfort Zone, where we challenge mediocrity, confront adversity, and create success through intentional action. That's right, we're going to live on purpose. I'm your host. This is Dan Brzezowski, and this podcast is designed to push you beyond what's comfortable, because nothing extraordinary happens inside your comfort zone. Let's get into today's podcast. I'll see you on the inside.
Welcome.
Attention, please.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to the No Comfort Zone podcast. It's time to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose. Broadcasting to the world from Rockford, Illinois. This is your wake-up call.
Warning.
You are the solutions to all your problems. Stop thinking average. Become the hero version of yourself. Every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. It all matters. You've entered the No Comfort Zone. It's time for a reality check.
And here we are back at it again inside the No Comfort Zone. You know, if you listened to the last episode and you came back for more, I greatly appreciate it. What a humbling experience to put that kind of stuff out on the world. 746 daily downloads. That's kind of cool. Pretty glad you guys are still listening, guys and gals. Found out my demographics. Thought it was mostly guys, but apparently it is 60% guys, 40% women. Thank you very much for listening. If you know somebody who needs to hear something, maybe a shot of motivation, a little bit of inspiration, and you think this podcast can help them out, please send my link to them. I would greatly appreciate it. I think they might appreciate it too, because at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is this. I'm trying to figure out how to motivate somebody to become the best version of themselves. They say motivation doesn't exist. I firmly don't believe that, because look at YouTube. Jesus. I'm getting pushed more and more towards YouTube. I'm afraid to do it. I got to get out of my comfort zone and put myself out there. I had a company come up and say, we want to produce your show. I can't do it because I can't do this full time. So it's one of those things. I'm going to keep working at it. I'm going to keep doing this. Maybe I'll even have my wife produce the show. But I think people need motivation. I think people need to get real with themselves. And that's one of the reasons I did last show, is to get real with you and let you know where I've been a little bit. There's a lot more to that story, but just remember, I'm not a victim. It's self-inflicted. You know, denial, and all of a sudden you got to face reality. What do? Do you quit forever, or do you fight back? After enough, I decided to fight back. And now what do? You know, there's nothing worse than when you want to come back at life and now you got to figure out, man, I'm left in a pile of shit. What do I do now? Well, AIDA, become aware of where you're at and how you got there. Identify what it is you really want out of life. Write it out as a goal. We can go into a lot of that. Decide what you're willing to do, what you're willing to give it up, what bullshit are you really to face, and then massive action. You know, it is massive amounts of action. And then there's another part of the blueprint that we talked about in the live seminar, the series that I went through, is results, purpose, and again, massive action. Shocker. You know, we use that in sales training. We use that in a lot of different things. But I want to share with you this, that it all comes together in this, and here's where the skill set comes in. Here's where the cash, and that's what we're going to focus on now. It's not money, it's an acronym, KASH. Yes, I learned it in sales training, but it applies to everyday life. And the K stands for knowledge. And that's what we're going to talk to in today's podcast. We're talking about the knowledge that you need in whatever area you want to focus on in your life. Yeah, it could be business. It could be what career path you want to choose. I chose sales. That for the low education that I was sent to a nice school, 2 really nice high schools. That wasn't for me. The traditional path for learning wasn't me. Remember, I chose comfort. Studying was not comfortable for me. I had to learn the hard way. It's not something that I wanted to do. And I did horrible at it. However, it wasn't until I decided that I wanted to read, that I wanted to learn certain things, that I excelled. And when I learned those things about behavior, psychology, selling, money, real estate, art, these are the things that I excelled in. And even to this day, I'm very passionate about these things. And it's one of those things that's easy for me to learn. Now, the hard stuff, technology, very difficult for me to learn. But I have to learn through practical application. I learned how to do practical application in the Marines. Observing, I had to learn how to do that when I was in rehab. There's a lot of different ways to learn. And when I learned how to learn, which really what academia is all about, learning how to learn, life became a little bit easier. But when it comes to providing for yourself, your purpose, and your family, it's a little bit different. When it comes to going from just surviving to thriving, well, what do you need to know in order to get there? And street smarts is part of it, but you're going to have to learn, a little bit more to get to a point where you're above average. And that's what we're talking about today. What's the knowledge that you need? I learned this thing called gap analysis. Gap analysis is if you take a subject, whatever topic it is, and you take that subject and you write down your level of knowledge on the topic. Let's say, for example, personal finance. That's a real easy one because most people, when you come from where I was at, bankrupt, owed the IRS, behind in child support, just from lack of being around, being in hospitals and stuff, not going to court, it got really bad for me to the point where I couldn't make decisions for myself anymore, being homeless, being broke, and still falling behind on child support. The judges don't care. The kids don't care. The ex-wife doesn't care. They want their money. And they want you to abide. They don't care if you have mental health issues and if you can't keep a sentence together. No one cares if you're addicted. No one cares if you've got major issues. Nobody cares. And the sooner you get over that nobody cares, the faster you can get on with your life. And the reality is this, you've got to figure it out. And when it came to all of that shit that I had to go through, that I put myself in, that I denied, once I figured it out and I realized, listen, hey, now you got to put yourself back together. Now you need to figure out payment plans and all this other stuff. You're going to have to get help. There's places to get help to do that. Now you got to work on your personal finances because you still have a life to live. You're still going to have to fend for yourself. And yeah, you're still going to have to put some away from retirement. How are you going to do that if you've got nothing and you're behind? Well, there's a way to do that. You're going to have to start to learn about personal finances. You're going to have to learn about debt reduction. You're going to have to learn how to increase your income. You're going to have to learn how to decrease your spending. And believe you me, if you can survive on, I've talked about this before, if you can learn how to survive on burritos, like you can buy, check this out, back in the day, I don't know what you can do now, but you can go to the store and you can buy 10 burritos for $10. I did a podcast, No More Burritos. You can do 10 burritos for $10. And I could eat a burrito a day, cut it in half, and there was lunch and there was dinner. And I still had to buy baby food for my son, formula, and diapers. And I would save up enough money by the end of the month when I got my other check to add to it, where I could take myself out for Chinese food on Fridays, Chinese Fridays. I did a podcast about that too. And it all works out in the end, but gap analysis comes down to how do I learn how to manage my finances even if I don't have anything? It can always work out. There's a great book out there, T. Harv Eckert, The Millionaire Mind. That's a book that you need to pick up and start reading, even if you don't have anything, because someday, sometime you'll have something. I remember talking to a friend of mine a long time ago when, at the end of the month, at the end of the month after everything was paid and I had absolutely nothing, I had a card table, I had a folding, chair, whatever, for my son, and I had a folding chair for myself and a card table. And I think that's all the furniture I had in my house. I might have had a couch too. I can't remember. I had a hand-me-down crib for him. I was sleeping on the floor. No bullshit. My wife now can tell you when she came to my apartment for this first time, that's what she saw. And I had a couple of clothes when I was working at the dealership. That was my reality. That's the true story. And at the end of the month, I think I had $80 to spend. And it was really tough. But I was able to do it because I learned how to save a little bit. And I saved just enough to get me to a point where I could actually afford to go to Chinese Friday or do whatever I wanted to do to make myself feel like a human being. But the challenges were so tough, but I knew I had to have the knowledge on how to save money, how to make my money last for the whole month. Now, that's just one thing, but I'm telling you, knowledge is power, is part of the truth. And if you're new to hearing this, one of the most impactful things I've heard as an adult since 40, because that's when I think I started to figure out my own life. At 40, knowledge applied is power. So you can have a few extra bucks, but a few extra bucks doesn't really help you too much until you know how to apply the few extra bucks. The only way that you're going to do that is by having actual knowledge or knowing exactly what you're going to do when you actually have extra money and how you're going to actually apply it. Because before, what I would do is, very actually and very literally, what I would do is spend it because it would make me feel good. And in spending that would make me feel good, but it would cause major pain down the road. So I had to do something in my life to change that drastically. And quite frankly, one of those things was to get the knowledge that I needed and start applying it. So I hope you can find the value in having that knowledge, because part of this series of podcasts is taking knowledge, taking attitude, skills, and habits, and putting that all together, that acronym CASH, and getting the most out of it so that you can get out of your little comfort zones and start spending your time, instead of abusive behavior or behavior that's actually going to keep you in that really bad, less than average spot. You can actually start doing things that are going to enhance the quality of your life. Because that conversation that I had with Terry, when I told him, hey, listen, I don't know how I'm going to get past this in my life because I owe so much to so many people. He's, dude, don't worry, someday it'll be over. I remember that conversation went like it was yesterday when I think I was 41. Dude, I'm never going to find anyone that's going to want to be with me because I'm so broke. Don't worry, you'll find somebody. Dude, I am so far in debt. No one's ever going to loan me money to help me get in my situation. Don't worry, man. I've been there. You'll get over it. And 15 years later, here I am. I've got a really nice studio that I'm able to communicate this with. Super cool microphone, got a laptop, got a nice screen in front of me. I got some lights down here. I got my goals posted on the wall. And my ambitions have never been better, all because I learned way back then about personal finance, because I read a book, because I applied a principle, because I downloaded an app on my phone, a debt reduction calculator, because I spoke with and communicated with the IRS honestly and openly about my situation, because I was able to hire an attorney to go back and represent me the right way with my ex to say, hey, things are kind of out of whack. We need to reevaluate this. Yes, I had to pay the attorney the money to do that, but that's a reality that you're going to have to do. So, this episode is really all about getting the knowledge that you need. And if there's knowledge that you need, you cannot say you don't know what to do. You don't know where to turn. We're in the information age. Internet's everywhere. You're on your phone constantly. You're listening to this on your phone. You're getting knowledge right now. Now, here's the you should do. Now it's what do you do next? There's a book out there, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Definitely want you to check that out. And you really, some things that you should check out. The Slight Edge explains that small daily application of knowledge compounded over time can actually help you to find, the things that you're looking for in your life. And also, a really another important one, and one of my favorite books literally of all time, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which emphasizes the application of knowledge, and mere accumulation of knowledge. That what you can do is use this, or by not using it can actually create problems for you. But just by the book Think and Grow Rich, how knowing what you want and the desire to achieve it can get you there just by reaching this information. And here's a couple of things I want to share with you too on this one. Here's a great quote from, I dug this up while I'm on the podcast here, so apologize for the distraction, from Tony Robbins. I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins. One of the best books I ever picked up was Unlimited Power. I picked it up, I think, in the early 90s, 1991. And I don't know why I did, but I did. Then I went to one of his seminars, and then I got his audio cassette. That helped me establish some of my earlier goals in my life. And one of the reasons I made it to Hawaii, and talk about manifestation. Read his books, got his cassettes, went to a seminar. 2 years later, I'm in Hawaii. I mentioned this on my podcast before. I'm running down the main drag in Hawaii, in Honolulu, on Oahu. And there he is. He gets out of his hotel. And I ran next to him for a minute or two, maybe a minute, and said hi. He really was into the talking mode, but I ran right next to him. I can honestly say that. Pretty cool moment. I told him really quickly. I saw him in Washington, D.C. about 2 years earlier. Said hi, appreciate him, got his cassette series. He thanked me for it. Well, he's going to run. I'm going to run. I cut off to the left, and he kept running. Pretty awesome. I ran with Tony Robbins. Thanks, Tony. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. Action is power. Man, is that powerful. Action is power. I don't know who said this quote, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I say that, or I said that when I used to speak at sales training seminars all the time. That is such a hit. You could make every intention in the world, but unless you do something, I love it, Tony. Action is power. Take that one. Here's one from Napoleon Hill from the book Think and Grow Rich. Action is the real measure of intelligence. Action is the real. So you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't take action on it, and that's where the gap analysis comes from. Let's go back to that personal finance. What do you know about personal finance? If personal finance means you're living well, you're below your means, you're tithing, which is really important, by the way. That's a whole universal gratification. You got to give back. You got to tithe. You got to save your money. You got to live below your means. It's biblical. You got to do it. It was hard for me, but when you understand tithing and how important it is, it will come back to you. You have to give. God's taking care of you. I'm telling you, it's important. When you understand that, 10 is you know that stuff and you're dialed in. And 1 is you have no clue. Where's your level of it? I was about a 3. When I understood a little bit more about it, I got up to about a level 7. Now, where I'm at, honestly, if you were to ask me that question, Dan, where are you on the gap analysis chart? 1, I don't have a clue. 10, I know everything there is to know about it. I would say I'd put me at about a 7 right now, and I need to, what I know and what I do are two different things. I'm at about a 7. I could be a 10. My gap analysis is 3. So I need to get better by 3. I have some work to do. I ain't perfect, man. I'm not, I'm working on it just like you are. But I can tell you this, if you answer that question and you're 1 to 10 and you say you're an 8, I got some questions for you. We could have a great discussion. Are you really at where you want to be? Hey, the W-2 test. I always ask the question. Take the W-2 test. Take the personal finance. If you're saving almost all your money, investing it wisely, and living below your means, hey, I'll listen to you. I will definitely listen to you. But if it's the other way around, if you're spending, your week runs out and you don't, you have less money than you should, and you're paying check to check or whatever, living check to check, and you're into your debt up to your eyeballs, and I'm not really going to listen to you too much. You know what I mean? So, I would like to offer you this on this specific episode. When it comes down to getting from point A to point B, what knowledge do you need to get to your point B? Because that's all it really comes down to. Here we are in the month of March. The month of March is going to be over. I think we're March 11th right now. The month of March, you're going to be over. It's going to be March 30th. Where do you want to be March 30th? Just, you might be in a good spot right now, but do you want to be in a better spot? You might be in hell right now. Do you want to get out of hell? You might be average. Do you want to get above average? Do you want to be great? Where it is do you want to be? Are you comfortable right now? Well, let's make some uncomfortable things happen in your life intentionally so that you can learn from them so you can become better. That's all this is about. That's all I want for you, is to get a little uncomfortable, to get that going so you can start to live with a little bit of intention so you can go to the next level in your life. Because your wife's counting on it, your husband's counting on it, your kids are counting on it. Everybody is counting on you to be the best version of yourself. Period. I hope you want that for you. I hope you want it to be happening for you in your life right now. If you're making $100,000 a year, is that the best you can do? If you're making $30,000 a year, is that the best you can do? Are you unemployed right now, and did you do everything you could to get a job today? Or are you saying to yourself, I'm waiting for something better to come along? I'm not good for that. Because I'm telling you, if you're down in the dumps right now and you're not doing anything, or if you're waiting for that right opportunity to show up, you need to create your own reality. And the way that you do that is by making these uncomfortable situations. You know, your thermometer that you have, your thermostat that you have in your life, make things so uncomfortable subconsciously that your body kicks in and says, this ain't right. You know, if you don't have your, whatever your thermostat's set for in your savings account, in your 401k, $80 back when I was going through it was, if I fell below $80, I was freaking out. I used to have, I had a $160,000 medical bill I was terrified of. How the hell am I going to pay that? I had almost at an IRS debt. How am I going to pay that? I owed a ton of money, and I owed so much money. I was like, I'm better off that my life insurance policy could probably cover all that. I don't know what I'm going to do. But you know what? When you have the right knowledge, when you have the right attitude, skills, and habits, you can work through it. Now, just imagine if all that's taken care of and you get past it. It might take some time, but you work past the person you become that took care of that problem, folks. Think about what you can do now that you're going on the success side of it. Now you don't have to look over your shoulder. You have character, you have integrity because you paid your debts. You've taken care of your responsibilities. Now look where you're going in your life. Now when you do it for yourself and your family and you're going the right way, now you're going towards success. Now look at that. You know, now you have all this knowledge. Now you're a better version of yourself. Now you're going to start to accumulate net worth, net wealth. Now you're in a different place. Now it's not just going to Chinese Friday or eating burritos because you have to. Now you can choose to help other people along the way because you're in a position, because you're the better version of yourself, because you intentionally worked on yourself, because you intentionally sought out the right knowledge and you applied that knowledge because what? Because you took action with the knowledge. Boom, I'm bringing it back to Tony Robbins. How do you like them apples? I hope you had a good time in this podcast today. Definitely more uplifting than the last one. But listen, today's the day. I truly hope that you take some knowledge, you apply that knowledge, and you make life a little bit better for yourself and the people around you. If you need more information on the blueprint, hit me up. Dan at the No Comfort Zone. I would love rating and reviews. If you can hit me up on Apple iTunes, share this with somebody that you think needs a little bit of knowledge, hope, and inspiration. But more importantly, for you, the listener out there, greatly appreciate you supporting me in the show. But today's the day. Today is that day that you, the listener, get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose.
Say goodbye.
Want more of the No Comfort Zone? You can follow Dan on Instagram and Twitter at No Comfort Zone 1.
Bye.
Or on the web at thenocomfortzone.com.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the No Comfort Zone podcast.
Bye-bye.